All right, welcome everybody. Excited for another expert interview. This is one of my best friends, great gentleman, tons of experience, and he's doing cool stuff. Really excited to have Chris with us today. As always, let's jump straight into it. Chris, why don't you let us know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Chris O'Sullivan. I'm with Sunder Energy. I am a solar energy broker, so residential and commercial solar power.
Awesome, man. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy. You're always hustling, and you just got back from a wonderful trip. Thanks for sharing that story, man. It's always cool to dream a little and see what's out there.
That was great.
Let's talk trends. So
Sure.
what's trending in the solar space? What are some things people should pay attention to or things that maybe they should avoid? So what's trending?
Yeah, solar is trending. Right now, there is a flood of companies coming into Reno specifically. The floodgates have been opened, and my company's been doing this in Reno for almost a year. Backtracking a little bit, I don't know if people remember, but about 4 or 5 years ago, all the solar companies kind of left. And there was this legislation that made it kind of unfriendly for solar businesses to do business in Reno. And then last year, primarily because of the question 6 on the ballot, which was the 50% renewable by 2030, NB Energy decided that, oh yes, well, we're going to okay and approve net metering because we need that energy. So real short story, net metering means that you can sell electricity to the grid, that you have a bi-directional meter on the side of your house. So if you're a producer, then you can actually sell electricity to the grid, especially during peak times when the sun is shining the brightest. And then you have credits built up in kilowatt hours with NB Energy so that when you need the grid, when the sun's not shining, you just use NB Energy's grid, but it's free to you because you have a credit with kilowatt hours. So because of these new, more friendly environment for solar and for producing solar electricity, companies are just flooding. Add to that the fact that just solar and green energy in general is in favor right now. It seems that fossil fuel energies are under attack right now. We're seeing gasoline prices skyrocket. We've seen 11% increase in the electricity rates from NB Energy so far this year. And if you're checking your inserts in your bill, which I don't know if people do, some people just open their bills over the trash and throw that stuff out, but they've just petitioned for another increase for October 1st for another 1.22%, which will put it at about 12.15% this year alone. So why is that happening right now? Like, what's the impetus for that? And again, it goes back to this question 6, because they're scrambling. They don't even have 25% of the grid powered by renewables right now. So they have to more than double, plus the significant growth of the population here. So, it's more than 2x in 8.5 years. And so they have to build out their own infrastructure. They've got to invest in geothermal, wind, solar. And this is a multi-billion-dollar investment. And guess who's going to pay for that? You and I. So that's why rates are going to increase. Also, when we have a large number of people going solar for their individual residents, that's less revenue that NB Energy is drawing from the public. So the people that are left on the grid got to pick up the gap. So rates will be going up, I believe, probably over the next 5 to 7 years, fairly significantly. So now is a great time to go ahead and get your solar electricity set up. And we'll probably talk about this, but there are several ways to do that.
Awesome. So much good information there. And it's something that I know everyone's heard. You're right. It's definitely a hot topic. It's a conversation happening. Maybe they've seen people in their neighborhood, or maybe their neighbor has it. So it's good to understand the why. Like, why is it happening? Why is it important? What are the talking points and tips, things people should consider? I love that analogy with kind of, buying your house versus renting, right? Do you want to lock in a payment?
Right.
Or do you want to trust that inflation and prices aren't going to go through the roof at some point?
True. That's right. And you know what? Demand is actually increasing as well. We're seeing a lot more electric vehicles. I just put in my down payment for my F-150 Lightning. So, electric vehicles are going to be on the streets. People are switching more to cleaner electricity. Of course, it's not as clean if it's powered by coal, but, that's a trend we're seeing too, that more and more homes are requiring more and more electricity to charge their devices, to run their homes, smart homes. And so the demand is actually increasing along with the other factors.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've seen the car. The car is a whole nother talk, and there's so much cool stuff happening there. But again, if that adoption's happening in one sector, it's probably going to translate.
Yes.
Um, so let's talk the barrier to entry, right? Solar is super expensive. It's amazingly expensive, right? Like I just can't afford it.
Well, that's kind of old thinking. So solar prices and equipment efficiency and technology has changed dramatically, even over the last 3 years. So prices have come down significantly for solar panels and the inverters. Now, batteries are still another thing. And so batteries are fairly expensive. I'm not huge fan of batteries at this point. I think that the technology in batteries is going to come along and catch up to the solar production as far as storage versus production. But solar production right now is pretty efficient. We can get a lot of power out of a few panels, but storage is different. So, there are things there that still have to come a little bit, but the cost factor, you talked about the affordability, is not what it used to be. There's also, we just got extended the 26% tax credit. So if you're earning income and paying federal income tax, you can get a 26% of your system paid for by Uncle Sam. So they are subsidizing that. We also have programs, and I believe, except for going direct with Sunrun, my company is the only authorized dealer for Sunrun. And why that's significant is that we are the company that offers no-cost solar solutions. So it's a great option for people that are paying an electric bill. They're okay with paying an electric bill, but they'd like to maybe save a little money, produce a cleaner, smaller carbon footprint, and protect themselves from rate increases that we just talked about are coming. So Sunrun will actually invest in your solar system, no cost to you. You don't own it, you don't maintain it, you don't pay insurance on it. It's a worry-free solution. And then you just purchase your electricity from Sunrun versus NV Energy. So you get clean solar electricity at a fixed rate versus NV Energy's fossil fuel energy, which nobody knows where it's going to be in 5 years.
Perfect. And I know I set you up. It was interesting because we've talked solar so many times. It's been great learning about it from a cost standpoint because one, I mean, we talked about all the benefits, right? The going solar is cleaner, and there's so many like reasons environmentally that it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But as we dug into the numbers, I was shocked looking at my house, right? So, suburban house, nothing crazy, decent square footage. We dig through the power bill, and it was really interesting to go, okay, cool. So I could get a solar system for very comparable or a little bit less than my power bill, whether I buy it or choose the lease sort of model,
right,
which is great. And that was something I learned last time. So I love, and I want people to hear that, right? Like first, the consultation doesn't cost you anything, right? Like you can come out and do a site survey and have conversations and put together numbers. Is there a cost to that?
No, there's no cost to us doing a full consultation. We'll talk about your home situation. Every home is different. Everybody consumes electricity at a different rate. So we start with the power bill, like you said, and we take a look at the electricity consumption. Then we'll look at the square footage of the house. We'll look at the orientation of the roof and the different obstacles that are on the roof. There's always stuff up there, little gables and weird angles and stuff, but all that has an effect on how efficient your system can be as to how it faces that south side where the sun is always shining. So with that information, we're able to put together a really in-depth analysis of your electrical needs and how we can offset that with solar power.
Love that.
And most of the time we can save about 7 to 10%. On perfect roofs, we can save probably 15 to 20% on your current electric bill.
Yeah, but 7 to 10% today.
Yeah, today. And no rate increases going forward. So you never have to worry about the rates increasing. And really, the really great thing about this is that You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to add it to your homeowner's insurance. You don't own it. All the warranty, all the maintenance, the cleaning, everything is taken care of by Sunrun in this case. So it's very much a worry-free, hassle-free type of agreement.
I love that. And I love the consultative approach, right? It's an industry people may not be familiar with, and as our audience is high level professionals, business owners, right? You guys are probably own a house, or hopefully you're looking to buy one. Maybe you have a couple rentals. It's good to look at this option and figure out, like, is there a leverage to this? Is there a reason to lock solar in now? Does it make sense with my house? Guys, it's free to dig in. So dig in, right? Get the information. Yeah. Otherwise, you can't make a decision.
And get quality information. Grabbing some clickbait on the internet, free Tesla power walls and all this other stuff, all this talk to someone who can be referred to you, or that you can actually meet with in person and give you good quality information. I just think that it's great to have those resources locally where you can talk to somebody at no cost and get all the great information. And honestly, business is so great right now. If it's not a good fit, I'm going to tell you. You know what, your house is just not in a great position, or you're not using enough, or you're using too much electricity, or whatever. If it's not a great fit, I'm going to let you know.
Perfect. So if someone's out there and they're looking for a solar vendor, or someone door knocks them and they end up in a conversation, what are some things they should ask to determine, is this a reputable company? Because it is an investment, right? And the last thing I want is, I don't want people to be taken advantage of. There are quite a few good options out there. So what are some questions they could ask that might help them weed through the ones that may not be on par with the industry?
Sure. Well, as with any industry, you want to ask them, how long have you been in business? You can look at things that way. I would look into some, if you have an opportunity, after you've heard them out, to do some quality research. And when I say quality research, I don't mean jump on a Yelp and see what the latest, negative review is. There's certainly some of that, and there's some validity to that. But when you look at, let's say, Sunrun, for instance, A+, Better Business Bureau rated, they've got over 650,000 clients. You may find 7 to 10 bad reviews on Yelp, doesn't mean a thing. So go to things like energy.gov/solar. You can look at SEIA.org, which is the Solar Energy Industry Association, and look at what they have to say about what this person's saying, and just check their credibility.
Love that. Those are great websites. We'll make sure we put some links to those below this, because again, if you guys get door knocked, there's great vendors, right? But let's make sure that they're credible, they're quality. Never want to see anyone get taken advantage of, no matter what they're buying. So thank you for sharing those links and resources. Let's talk about the sale of a house, right? So if I put solar on my house and then sell, how does having solar impact that transaction, either from money or from a transition standpoint? What's that look like?
Well, it really does come down to one thing, and that's money. So the increased value of your home because of solar is the net present value of the future electric bills that home buyer won't have to pay. Right. So if they have another 20 years of life in that solar system, that's 20 years, 240 months of monthly payments that they won't have to pay. So if it's $100 a month, that's $24,000. So what's the present value of that, not including inflation and rate increases? So the value of your house does increase. Now, of course, the best bang for your buck on getting the value of your home increase is if you paid cash for the system up front, because you didn't pay any interest, you have no ongoing bills, you just paid cash for the system, and then the value of your house goes up instantly. Less so with the PPA, the power purchase agreement that we talked about with Sunrun, because they will take over that. They'll totally assume that agreement. Its transition happens seamlessly, just like changing your water bill or your waste management. You just switch over your solar bill and they take that over. The advantage there to the new home buyer, the homeowner, is that rate is locked in for the term of the agreement. Now, you also have the option, and I don't want to muddy the water too much, but Sunrun does offer an option where you can purchase the system upon the sale of your home.
Hmm.
So then you can buy the system, add it to the value of the home so that the new home buyer owns their system. And then you just settle the agreement out of escrow and you walk away from the agreement. So there are several options that you can use to increase the value of your home. But again, just to reiterate, it really has nothing to do with this, nice, warm, fuzzy, green, save the planet feeling. It's cash money. It's the present value of all those electric bills they won't have to pay.
Perfect. It's great to know there's options. I know that was a concern I had, and I think that anyone who might be in a move up situation has to pay attention to is, what does that move up ability look like, right? Are we going to get stuck? Is this going to cost me money? Is it going to have a negative impact? And it sounds like there's plenty of options. And based on our last conversation, it sounds like lenders are getting, and title companies are getting more comfortable with that conversation.
Yeah, and I will say too, so a lot of people, and when you talk to realtors and lenders, they may have an old business model in their mind. So what used to be really popular before this PPA arrangement are solar leases. And solar leases had liens on the property. So if you went to refinance your home even, you would have to settle out that lease or put them in some kind of pecking order to get paid, right? So it would be an encumbrance on the title of your home when you go to sell it or refinance it or whatever. This new PPA agreement, it's not yours, it's not attached to the home. It really is just an agreement to purchase the electricity from the solar system on your roof. So there's no loans, zero impact on your credit. I'll say that again, there's zero impact. Even the inquiry we do is not a hard inquiry on your credit. So even if you're about to buy a car or something, like going solar with this PPA is not going to have any effect. And then there's also no lien on the property at any time. And it's very clearly spelled out that if you go to refinance your house, Sunrun will actually provide you with the UCC one. They'll show the bank that there's no encumbrance. And so it does make it a lot cleaner. Anybody that's had some kind of entanglement through a solar system in the past or in a real estate deal, if you're doing the PPA, it is not a lease. So it's going to be a lot easier to do those property transfers.
That's great. And again, great information, because again, if you're getting door knocked or someone refers you and all of a sudden you're hearing lease and you're hearing some of these things and maybe there is conversation about liens, and again, just know that you heard somewhere that there may be other options, right? So I just want to make sure you guys have information. So again, compare, right? Ask 5 people, figure out what makes sense, but know that, it sounds like Sunrun's doing some awesome stuff. And I know you're going to help people dig through that, which is great.
Yeah.
Let's talk timeline. So if someone, from the day someone gets door knocked and goes, yeah, I'm interested in having a conversation about solar, what's that timeline look like on average? What could someone expect that to look like?
Yeah. Many times we'll just sign people up right there. They just think it's a great idea. So let's talk about, there is sometimes that second call or second presentation is follow up. Maybe we want to bring another family member involved and stuff. And that's great. But let's talk about from the time you actually sign up through the installation and when you actually get what we call PTO, or permission to operate. So that timeline is, there's a lot of variables in there because it's not all on us either. So the day we sign up, we'll get you in the pipeline for somebody to come out and actually do what we call a site audit or a site survey. So they'll come out and they'll chalk out your roof. They'll look at all the obstructions. They'll check the quality of the roof, your master panel, and make sure that that has enough power to run your house. There's enough room for us to put our system on the wall and inside the breaker box. So there's all kinds of physical information we need to gather from the site audit. Usually we'll get that site audit done and get information we need to create a final design. But once we have the final design, we go back to the homeowner. Hey, we had to make these couple of changes, or more likely, everything's exactly the way we looked at in the preliminary design. We're ready to move forward. And so we'll ask the homeowner, are you ready to move forward? And when they do, that's kind of like their final commitment. So up to that point, if they have a change of heart or something, we're very liberal about cancellation, and people can get out, they can go do some research, talk to their brother-in-law, whatever they got to do to get their information. And so But once we apply for permits and go to your HOA and we start doing that, which by the way, we do all that work, it's all included at no cost in the PPA. It's really fantastic. So we'll go to your HOA, we'll go to the city, we'll go to the fire, we'll get all those permits going. And then once we get the permits, that's about 4 to 5 weeks from the actual signing. Then we'll send out a team to do your installation, which takes a day. For most systems, it's about 4 hours. For a larger system, it could take a full day. So that's how long it takes for us to fully install a system, and it's ready to go. But now we have to go for the inspections. So this is the part that's totally out of our control. This can take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how backlogged the city and fire is. And then once they give their okay on the inspection, then they turn it over to NV Energy and say, okay, we're ready for the interconnection. And so NV Energy will come out sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks to put in your bidirectional net metering meter. You actually get a new meter on your house, and then we get permission to operate. So from sign up to PTO is taking 3.5 to 4 months, sometimes a little bit longer if there's any kind of challenges in there. Oftentimes, if you have an HOA, we have to wait for their next meeting, or their approval can add a week or 2 weeks to the process. And by the way, since I brought up HOAs, I will relieve some people of knowing that HOAs are not able to impede you from going solar. We still go through the architectural committee. We want to respect that. But if they ask you to make changes that will reduce the output of your system by more than 10%, then they can't do that. So if you have an HOA that's very strict or whatnot, they are restrained from telling you you can't go solar. That's Nevada revised statute, and I don't remember the number. But,
great. I mean, lots of moving pieces in there, and that was, I think that's what I want people to understand is like, one, when you sign, you're not committed on the first time, right? We got to dial things in. We got to make sure it works. So that's right. Great. So you get a little check and balance. That's always a nice buyer's decision. But also understanding, this isn't something that you're going to buy today, have tomorrow, right? You've got to go through a process. You want to make sure it's done right. And it's important to understand that process and the permitting and the HOA approval and all these things, because again, if a company comes and says, we'll have you set up tomorrow, like you should have red flags that something's probably off, right? And I just want you again to understand if the normal process is 3 to 4 months currently in the city of Reno or surrounding areas due to permitting and tempo, then understand that, right? Because if they say, oh, we'll install next week, okay, well, what are they installing and is it permitted? No, it's not.
Yeah. Hey, I will also, just going back to what to look for with companies, because this is important, is that you want to make sure that, first of all, they have the proper warranties. Standard warranties in the business, at least companies I deal with, are 25 years. So you have full product warranty for 25 years, roof penetration warranties for minimum 10 years. And then also for the really good companies that are financially sound and have the ability to do it, they will offer you production guarantees. Many of them are 10, 12 years where they promise that the production will not fall below a certain point. And if it does, they'll make up the difference. And for Freedom Forever and Sunrun, the companies I work with, 25 years, they will maintain a production guarantee for 25 years. So you want to make sure, what this means is that if your system begins to degrade or you have a few panels go out or something happens with your inverter, that if your production falls below this baseline amount, and it's 85, 90%, that they'll actually reimburse you for your NV Energy bill because of their failure to perform. So performance guarantees are key. And if a company is offering that, then you know that they have the financial backing, to be a good quality company. And then also longevity, a 25-year warranty is only as good as the company that's still around in 25 years. So make sure you check into their financials and whatnot as well.
Love that. Again, more lingo, right? More right. Things that we want you to listen to and look for. And I know when you're talking about, it's your roof, right? This thing's being installed and how it's installed and what's covered. Yeah. Is it just the equipment or is it the roof or is, the performance I thought was interesting. And I think that's critical, right? Because it is equipment. So a company that's willing to stand behind it and say, no, we're going to make sure it continues to perform, especially if you're you're still making payments on it, or anything like that, that would be the worst case scenario, right? Is your equipment fails, but you still got to pay for it.
Yeah, and at the same time, then you still have to pay for NV Energy because you need power. So your system's down, you're paying for the system, and you're paying for NV Energy if your system's not producing. So now you're double billed. So it's nice to have a company that says, hey, if you're paying NV Energy because our system is not working, we reimburse you your NV Energy bill.
Perfect. Let's talk about that energy bill, because that was a piece I didn't understand, right? I guess had the assumption, right, that my energy bill disappears, and it doesn't. So can we talk about why that is and kind of how that works?
Yeah. Well, it can, first of all, if you have gas through the same utility, obviously you're still going to get your gas bill. So that's one thing. But there is one item in your electric bill. If you look at your electric bill today, you're already paying it. So it's not a new charge just for solar clients. You're paying a basic service charge. And this is not related to your usage of electricity. All those other line items on your bill, there's like 15 of them. They all have to do with the electricity and based on a rate. But that basic service charge right now for NV Energy in Washoe County is $15.25. And you will still have that $15.25 bill. Now, if for one reason or another, we undersize your system, sometimes we just don't have enough roof space. So let's say your system's only going to produce 90% of your electricity, then you're going to have a charge for that 10%. You don't just get that 10% magically from somewhere. That will come from the grid, and you will pay NV Energy for that 10%. Your solar system will provide 90% in that example. And then whatever the gap is, you would pay NV Energy. Perfect. Now, yeah, so there's something else there, and maybe I'll move into the next question for you. We talked a little bit about net metering, but it is important to know how it works. So net metering, as I said, means you're selling electricity to the grid, and you can use their grid electricity for free when you have a credit. So when you're producing more electricity than you're consuming, then you'll have a credit. And that credit will roll into the next month and into the next year. There's actually a 5-year rolling credit that you can have. And then the oldest year falls off at the end of 5 years. So it's not forever. So you build a credit for this electricity that you can use if you have higher usage in the future. However, if you consume more electricity than you produce, then you're going to have to make up that difference with NV Energy's electricity, and you'll have what we call a true-up bill at the end of the year. Well, you'll pay that difference. So if you're getting 10,000 kilowatt hours from your solar system, and you end up, for some reason, maybe mom moves back in the house, or one of your millennial kids moves back in the house, or whatever, then and you use 500 more kilowatts than your system's producing, then you would pay NV Energy for that 500 kilowatts. Make sense?
Perfect. Okay. I love that. And that's why I asked, because I thought that was super educational. And, I've looked at a couple of solar quotes, and I know one of them didn't explain any of that. And, I wanted people to pay attention, because if the promise is, look, your payments are identical. Okay, well, if the payments are identical, but you don't tell me there's $15 over here, then they're not identical, right? So we haven't built that into the conversation. So again, just more stuff I want people to pay attention to is like really understand this decision. This is not a $5 purchase, right? So let's make sure that we're making an educated purchase when you're doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's talk commercial briefly, and then we'll kind of transition into some business stuff. In the commercial world, we've covered a lot in the solar, but what's different? Why does it make sense? What kind of property in the commercial space may make sense for solar?
Yeah, I'll just make it really simple, because it's not a large part of my business, but I do commercial. The sales cycle is so long and so complex, and there's so many different parties involved that we can't sit around waiting for these things to happen. So it can be 9 months to a year before you're actually going. It's not like the 3 months that we talked about. So the 3 things that we really look at when we're finding a good commercial prospect: are you spending $2,000 a month on electricity? If you are, then you're probably a good prospect to save money. That's what I mean. Second, do you own the building? So are you the owner? It's not just some tenant saying, hey, I'd like, to go solar, but you're not the owner of the building. So 2,000 a month, owner of the building, and is a freestanding separate building. So strip malls, multifamilies, things like that, we really can't do business with. It's got to be a standalone building. Check that. Multifamily would be if you own all 4, 6, or 8 units, you want to go solar with the whole thing. One family in that multifamily probably couldn't do it, but the owner of the building could. But if you're doing a strip mall where there's many different meters in the building, we can't really do that. It's got to be one meter coming in. So
perfect. So for our business owners who are listening, if you guys own your own building, I was just on check another expert interview that'll be coming up soon. We talked about buying a building for your business and the advantages and the tax benefits and all the other stuff. If it's a freestanding building, this is probably something you should consider. And then again, understanding how much you're spending, right? Because that's where that analysis probably makes sense on, is there a cost savings here, or can we not offset it enough? So couple of good things to think about. I know we've got quite a few business owners who are looking to purchase. So this could be a great addition. Again, if you've got a freestanding building, and then pay attention to what that overall bill is.
And again, business owners do get that tax credit if it's the initial investment in solar. So having a tax credit that you can apply and then offset your electric bill with solar off of something you bought with a tax credit, that's actually a pretty sound thing to do.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. And then also for nonprofits, so I'm just going to add this one last thing, because I have a client that's a nonprofit, and so they can't really take advantage of the tax credits because they're 501c3. They're taxed. They're not paying the same tax as a business owner. But we can do the PPA Sunrun agreement for large commercial clients, and they can actually have savings on their electric bill without owning the system, because they can't use the tax credit anyway. So it may make more sense to do the Sunrun option versus a purchase for a nonprofit.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks so much for all the solar info. I mean, it's a topic I think people, again, like we started, it's something everyone's talking about, right? Yeah. But there are a lot of loopholes and things in there that you probably should pay attention to, because again, you don't want to do this kind of investment and end up with a faulty system or bad warranties, or God forbid, a company that goes under and there's no support, right? It doesn't matter what the warranty was.
Yeah, or the guy retires or whatever it is, and then you're left hanging. So
perfect. Well, let's talk business. I always like to, we met through business. We've done all sorts of stuff together, and I know business is a passion of yours. If you were to look at someone who's starting out in business, what are 1 or 2 tips you would tell them? What's something that you think they should hear?
Man, it depends on what business too. Really do your research, really know what you're getting into. Understand that you're going to work harder than you've ever worked for before. More hours for half the pay, basically. Just maybe even no pay to get started. But you have to know that going in. It's got to be a passion, and whatever that is has to really be a deep-seated passion that's going to get you going through those. When you're eating SpaghettiOs or whatever, that's just when ramen noodles. There's going to be those moments. So just be prepared for that, and keep yourself kind of emotionally set. Like, keep your keel even. Don't celebrate the highs too much. Don't get drown in the depths of depression when things don't go exactly right. Keep yourself even keeled, and just know that there's going to be good times and bad times, and just keep moving forward. Fail forward, right? That's the saying. So I don't know, there's so much, Devin. We've talked about this for hours. I don't know how to put it into a short conversation, but it's, is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. Absolutely.
But it is great advice. And it's something you got to remember, if you're going to break off and start your own thing, there's that, meme that goes around that says, I'm going to quit my 9 to 5 so I can work 80 hours for myself, right? Like, it's true. You're going to have to invest in the journey. Yeah. And you are going to have highs and lows. I know that's something that, I definitely have struggled with over the years, is just like, when you get hit, you got to be able to bounce back. And then when you like crush it, you got to take some of that energy, but you also got to pay attention to everything else too. So that roller coaster of emotions, like, is definitely something to pay attention to. And, you've got to have a forecasted goal that gets you through it. right? Because if you're just trying to survive today, it can get overwhelming. But if you understand where you're going, it helps. So that's something we always talk about. And then love the idea of kind of the power of broke, right? Damon John wrote that book, and I think it's fascinating when he talks about, with Fubu, how he would give out t-shirts for, taking photos and stuff, and then he would take the shirt back, right? Like, I need that. I need to go sell that.
I need that for more photos.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that whole concept of like, understanding the art of the hustle is really interesting. And it's something I think a lot of people take for granted. And you see that with really well-funded startups, where there may not be as much urgency because there is some padding and some comfort. And I like that creativity that comes from, being on the edge. Like, I think you find some stuff in yourself and your business that maybe you didn't know was there.
Right. And I'll also say, not to be negative at all, but entrepreneurship, being in business for yourself, is not for everyone. And that's awesome, because there is a great deal to be said for having stability, for having, some great benefits and, things that go with that, having a 401k, because, and sometimes you need to build your foundation with that first, before you move forward and on your own. But I guess I've taken the road less traveled, and I love it. I mean, I just love being in business for myself. I think it may be out of the last 25 years, I've probably taken a paycheck for maybe 18 months out of 25 years. So, that wasn't just pure commission or profit or something like that. So I love it.
Well, but I do think that's really sage advice, though. You have to understand the seasons of your life, and there are moments when having stability may make sense, or having benefits may make sense. And the other thing we talk about all the time, and this is a big mission I'm on, is it's okay to diversify, right? I think often we talk about diversifying when it comes to investments, but you should be diversifying your cash flow as well.
Right.
We're going to do a roundtable and talk network marketing and MLMs, and I'm a huge advocate for them. I think everybody should experience them, work in them, mess with them, do whatever you want to do, but there's a huge value to them. Again, I'm not going to tell you you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow, because just like any business, you got to work.
Yeah.
But having a side hustle or a way to get some cash and generate some extra money outside of your core business or your core career is a must, right? So it's okay to have stability in your career 9 to 5 and be committed and love it, and still have a side hustle. If you guys love trading cards, the trading card industry is through the moon right now, right? So buy and sell, use it. If you guys like Legos, these guys are making money on TikTok and YouTube building awesome Lego builds and sharing it. If you want to paint numbers on the curb, which is something I did in college, right? Knock on doors and go paint the damn numbers and just get some cash. But it's okay to do both.
And it's not just for people that are struggling or starting out. If you've got a super nice car sitting in the garage, use Turo, like, get some cash flow going. If you've got a nice vacation home off the lake or something, use Airbnb. Side hustles they're not just for a small slice of population anymore. Everybody's got side hustles. So, I think if you're not, it's at least at some points in your life, sometimes you need to focus, right? Sometimes you just need to do one thing, do it really well. That's the season I'm in right now. Just solar is just so overwhelming. There's just so much going on right now. I'm not really doing anything else, but there's nothing wrong with doing a side hustle. In fact, I recommend it.
Well, and it's awesome for you to explain that season too, because I know that when you entered this season, that was your goal, right? You sat down and said, hey, here is what I'm trying to accomplish in this moment in my life and my journey with where I personally am trying to go. And this is how I'm going to accomplish it, right? And I think that's the starting point of it, right? Is understand where you're going and understand the why. And you had mentioned that, like, what's your why for doing this thing, whether it is a career, an advancement, or your own business, what's the why? And if that why requires dedication and just full attention to crushing whatever this thing is, then go get it, right? And if it doesn't, and you're looking for other ways, then permission granted, right? Like, but be open to looking and having those conversations and relevering those goals frequently.
Right. And you said it best. I think it's all has to do with seasons in your life. There's going to be times where what you're doing is going to require 100% of your attention. There's going to be other times where things kind of going on autopilot, and it's like, okay, well, what else can I be working on? Where can I, where can I augment or create another future income stream down the road that I can use later? If that's investing in real estate, or making investments or trading, or like you said, doing some other health industry or something, or fitness or whatever, that you can create future income streams to diversify your income. I think it's smart.
That's awesome, man. So last question, one book someone who's in business should read.
Oh, one book.
One.
Come on,
I'm
Devin.
holding you to one.
Come on.
One book. What's that one
Oh
book
my
that
gosh.
you love?
I still think that just broad strokes is old school, man. And it's so important that you know how to treat people. I think that is just one of the most important things. So Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. 1 chapter a day for 31 days. If you have read it, read it again. There's just timeless stuff in there. I mean, I could give you a dozen books right now, but I mean, Napoleon Hill and
But that's a great relever book though. And I like that you brought that one up, because I have a set of books that I like to read annually, and that's on the list, because you got to relever that, right? Because how your relationships look and where you're going kind of changes, and you got to kind of reevaluate, like, what do these look like? Am I being accountable to the best practices?
right.
And I love it. It is, you're right. It is a timeless book. There's so much good stuff in there. And with audiobooks now and so many ways to digest, like, there's no excuse to not get into it.
Yeah, there's one more I'll give you. And this one slipped my mind, but this book makes every other personal development, success, sales book that you read work. If you read The Slight Edge and you get it by Jeff Olson, that book will help every other book you read work better. And that's all I'm going to say. The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson.
Yes. Yeah, I remember 2009 reading that book, I think. And yeah, it definitely changes your thought process, right? Of,
yeah, are
you growing or are you not? And I mean, there's really not much in between, right?
That's right. You're either going like this or you're going like this. So you decide. And every small decision you make affects that direction.
And it compounds it, right? So I remember that. I don't remember what page that chart's on, but I remember that chart very vividly going, oh, okay, like, there's your accountability for today. And it also gives you permission that, like, little wins add up, right? So you don't need to conquer the world today. You just need to move forward today. I
remember being in a BNI group, and I spoke about The Slight Edge. And then as my door prize, for those of you who are in BNI, when you speak for the week, you give away the door prize, and there's a drawing. And so I gave away a copy of the book, and the mortgage lender in my group came back 2 weeks later with 20 copies of the book and gave them to everybody. He said, guys, like, the guy who won the door prize read the book and then bought them for everybody in the group.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So it's a powerful, powerful book.
And I think you're right. I think that book does help you unlock a lot of the mindset needed to implement a lot of the other stuff you're going to read, right? Because that's the key, is you can read it all you want, but you've got to take some sort of action on what.
Take some action. Yeah, that's right.
So awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll get you in a couple roundtables, and I'm sure we're going to dig into business more, because we love those conversations. Always appreciate the time. Appreciate all the education in the solar space. So much good takeaways and things for people to consider. Again, thank you. Below this video will be links for Chris's contact. There'll also be a click here button. That click here button will open up a form, name, email, and a message. If you just want to connect with Chris, that's great. If you have further questions, he'll reach out to you and he'll answer those for you. So don't hesitate to reach out. And Chris, thanks again, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks for the opportunity and the platform, and great success to everything you're doing here. It's awesome. Thank you,
sir.